So before we move forward, let us see the folder structure in which the Tomcat installation comes. So we have first folder as bin. So this bin, obviously, as the name suggests, this is having all the executables. So we have batch file for Windows. We already seen startup and shutdown. So we have batch file for Windows and sh for Linux machine. So there is no separate installation for Windows and Linux. There is a common installation, and as per our OS, we sort of execute a certain file. Okay, so bin is having all the executables. Then we have conf. Conf is basically a location where all the configuration files are present. So configuration related to server, user, logging, okay, or the context, everything, every configuration related thing or property files are inside this conf folder. We will see them in detail at their relevant places, but for now just be aware that what is where. Then we have lib. Lib is basically a shared library. So the jar files kept over here is accessible to all the applications which are deployed in Tomcat. Okay, apart from that, the Tomcat itself is using some uh, files related for its functioning. So all these files are present into this lib folder. So let's say if you have two applications and both the applications are using some common jar file. Let's say if you are using some JDBC connectivity and you need some, let's say you need MySQL connector.jar file for both the applications. So you can keep the shared jar file over here and both of your application can easily access this shared jar file from this path. So this path is automatically added in the class path of all your applications. Then we have logs. So as the name suggests, we have the log files created and kept by the container at this location. So these log files are very useful. We will talk about them in detail in the relevant section, but be aware that all the logs that are generated by Tomcat are kept at this location. Okay. Then we have temp. So as the name suggests, this contains some temporary files. Let's say if you are doing some file upload related things or somebody is downloading the file. So any sort of streamed value which requires some secondary storage by Tomcat in between the process, those files are stored over here. Then we have web apps. As we discussed, we keep all our application into this folder by default. However, we can change the location of this folder. Then we have work folder. So basically we all know that JSP is first translated into a servlet before providing any response. Okay, so all the translation that happens and conversion of a JSP into a servlet is done over here. So for example, if you see, we created a index.jsp. So if you go to localhost and inside our demo app Apache JSP, so you will notice that we deployed our application demo app and it was having a basic index.jsp file, but that index.jsp file is first translated into a servlet, then it is compiled, and then it was ready for execution. So ultimately it is the servlet which is taking part in request response. Okay, so whenever we have JSP, it is first translated into a servlet and then the container execute this servlet and it provides the response in the form of HTML to the end user. So if you open this inside any editor, you can notice that our JSP is first translated into a servlet. So this is all a servlet code, okay, which are part of this translation. Okay, so translation happens into this work folder. Okay, so if you delete this temp and work, then also the server will work fine. Okay, so it is safe to delete temp and work folder in case you want. So this is all about the basic overview of how the folder structure is laid out in Tomcat.